So, good afternoon and welcome to this panel being platforms telcos can call their own, from UCaaS, CCaaS to vertical APIs. My name is Melissa Holtz. I'm Senior Research Manager with IDC, a globally operating ICT market intelligence firm, counting around 1,300 analysts, of which I am one. Located in the Netherlands, so this is sort of my backyard, if you will. And my remit has been kind of across enterprise comms, from UC to video, and now really covering CPaaS and network APIs. Very dynamic space, and this is the third time I'm here at the CASA event, and I actually want to echo what was said during the other panel. It is so amazing how the CPaaS Alliance kind of brings together, all these different players in the ecosystem, and I guess, all connected by kind of this magic glue being, APIs, because it's not only about CPaaS or network APIs and the AI infusion. It's really those APIs that connects everybody, and this also brings me. Four fantastic panelists representing their, cloud comms provider businesses, and I'd like for you to introduce yourselves, a bit of background around your roles, but also the companies you represent and how you are sort of, positioned in this ecosystem of APIs, if you will. Let's start with you, Michael.
Thanks, Melissa. Mike Brandenburg, Product Marketing Manager at RingCentral. You may have heard of us. What you probably haven't heard is that we actually have a fairly solid CPaaS stack that go with, and APIs that go with our unified communications and contact center as a service. My role has, with the Ring, is been to kind of bring that platform story of all of it together, powered by AI and APIs, as well as kind of driving some of our vertical messaging.
I'll go next. Hello, everyone. Nicola Fidanzia, working for Ooma 2600 Hz. You might not have heard of us. We are a US-based company. We are publicly traded on NASDAQ, and we do have our own wholesale product called 2600 Hz. For the telecom geeks here in the room, 2600 Hz was the tone that was used in order to make free calls at that time. And our platform, of course, has not been there when that tone was discovered, but we have been in this market for more than 13 years. It's an API-based platform, API-driven, multi-tenant, UCaaS, CCaaS, and we were Rob, we were the first sponsors of the CPaaS Alliance, right? Because we have believed in this project since day one.
Jörgen.
Hello. Oh. Is this working? Yep. I'm Jörgen Björkner. I'm co-founder of IoTcoms.io. Have a long background all my life working with SIP and VoIP, and previous to this journey, I built a UC platform that we sold to carriers, and they sold it as cloud-based communication before the cloud was invented. So then 7 years ago, I started to think what to do next, where the sort of vision came up. Okay, if you were to build a platform that can enable other kind of telco use cases than the traditional UC person-to-person cases. So we really focused on those maybe hard cases where it has to be mission critical, it has to be still scalable, billions of devices and things like that. That's been our target group that we're working on. So, for example, social care alarms, the telecare business is one vertical, connecting elevators is another vertical that we're doing, as well some really large contact center kind of deployments. And then touching back a little bit to the previous presentation, some of the customers don't trust the hyperscalers and the AWS. Even though we run a lot from modern AWS, we also have like a hybrid cloud deployment where we can provide fully managed service as if it were from the cloud, but running in the customer compute environment.
Thank
Great.
you.
And before I do my intro, I'm going to, like Melissa, say this is actually my third CASA event as well. And I want to really thank Rob, Kevin, and the team, because I do find that, you know, a lot of us go to these different industry events. They curate a really diverse audience and cross-section of global providers that are together and people that provide components of the solution. And it's just always an interesting event where you get to meet a lot of new people and think about things that you haven't thought before. So thank you, Rob and team. Appreciate that. So I'm Jon Brinton, Chief Revenue Officer. We're publicly traded in the U.S. as Crexendo. In Europe, we're known as NetSapiens International. We have a communications platform. We call it the operating system, which makes the API discussion even more interesting for providers that want to offer their own services to end customers. So we don't approach this conversation from the network API perspective because we're agnostic to the network. We approach it from the communication solution that's being provided to the end customer. So I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Thank you, John. Thank you all for introducing yourselves and your companies. And you know, you hear a lot of overlap, but also I hear here and there some differentiated capabilities and features, which is great and kind of which makes this an ecosystem play already, right? So, and so in this panel session, we'll be talking about kind of the benefits of your platform for telcos. The flexibility, the requirements you answer to as part of your platform, being compliance, being privacy, sovereignty, but also kind of those newer kind of vertical specific solutions and use cases that you manage as part of the platform for end users, and which can also be telcos, right? Or more smaller vertical specific comm service providers. That brings me to you, but yeah, we want to talk about those benefits, but we also want to talk about some of the challenges, because this is also a session to learn from each other. So it would be good to share something about that and how you tackle some of these challenges. So Michael, I'm starting with you. RingCentral. Been out there for like 25 plus years, I think, right? Globally operating 500K customers, something like that, in that range. A very solid converged play, right? We were talking a bit earlier, from UCaaS to CCaaS and CPaaS, and you also mentioned, we're not really known for CPaaS, but everything is AI also, but API enabled. And so this converged play, can you tell us a little bit more about kind of the benefits for your customers being telcos, but also because you mentioned at some point, this horizontal, although converged play, it was not enough. You needed to extend to vertical APIs and solutions. And because, we've been hearing, I was here yesterday also, and it was not for the first time, that it's not about technology, it's about kind of those business outcomes, right? So when seeking those vertical solutions and building those APIs, for those use cases, which audiences do you approach? Because it's not only that IT, department anymore. It's more the lines of businesses, the CMOs, the CSOs, the CDOs, etc., that you need to engage with to come to those, in this case, vertical specific business outcomes, right? So can you elaborate a little bit on that? It's like two questions in one.
Yeah. It's like 5 questions.
No.
No, I think one of the tipping points or the milestone moments for RingCentral was about 10 years ago. And I was covering them as an analyst when they announced their open platform, and really that was a strategic direction for them. I know a lot of people announced an open platform, and it was really good architecture. RingCentral delivered on that and really opened it up. The UCaaS, CCaaS, and now we've actually added events and AI into the mix. Was only really possible because they were built on those, on an open platform built with APIs, and then in turn they kind of, it was kind of ultimately the path to a CPaaS is opening those APIs and documenting it and building a developer experience around it. So it was really kind of that. That's kind of why I said it's the CPaaS that you never knew existed, because even internally they didn't really call it a CPaaS. But so ultimately today we lead into the platform of communications platform as a service and less of the business model. And we have some flexibility on, whether, a user is integrated through, the RingCentral app, or consuming it that way, or consuming it through an API or a business integration. To your question, on the vertical side is, I think the days of a horizontal solution, the old PBXs that didn't plug into anything other than the phones or the lines, we're well past that. In talking to some of our sales teams, the first conversation when talking to financial services is, what's your core platform? What's the integration is leading is the first conversation and that first discovery question. So they're looking to create that integration immediately, and then thinking about how the phones are going to fit and going forward from there. So I think there's ultimately a shift. I think standalone. Again, I'm showing some bias here, but I don't think standalone solutions are a go-forward strategy for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that, Michael. And Jörgen, we had a little bit of a talk beforehand, right? And talking about kind of how this, your platform and verticalization, for instance, comes about. You said, we're more of a bottom-up approach, talking a lot to the developer audience because, for our kind of clients being telcos, deploying our kind of platform services, they can pull in a CPaaS vendor and stack, but their API strategy is not always as, sound as perhaps would be desirable. And you said, so can you tell us a little bit more about kind of that developer engagement, and also how that, for instance, had led to one of your very successful AI-enabled services being the AI Connect service?
Yep, sure. So, we're maybe coming from, as you said, the more bottom-up approach, working collaborative with larger companies primarily that have a specific problem that they need to get solved, but they are not telco experts, or they are actually telco persons, but they are not up to date with how you build things today. So usually we've been developing all our services, the whole application that we actually have in collaboration and tight partnership with other people where we help solving their problems. So instead of saying this is our standard APIs, go and get them, and at best you read the documentation on the web, we instead actually engage quite close and help solving a problem, which help us to evolve the platform as well, because once we solved it, we can repeat that solution to somebody else that has a similar problem. So that's how we done it from the bottom up. And if you talk about AI and those use cases where it is really about, okay, how can I feed telco data, real-time streams into an AI platform, but also the metadata information that you maybe need to do that. Those that sitting on the receiver side don't come from the telco background. So that's what we're bridging as well. We try to deliver a unified interface, regardless what you have on the telco side. You have various codecs, you have various networks, you have a lot of security things you need to solve to get that data in, but we take it in and then we unify the data and put it in a standardized way out to the AI platforms and the AI applications.
Yeah. So. Thanks for that. And actually, we're talking about. We're just saying, some telcos, the API strategies are perhaps not, advanced, but I guess there's also some in the room that are right, that they're very kind of leading the pack in that sense. But so, Jon, coming to you, Crexendo, also all the kind of necessary elements of a business comms platform, but also extending to, for instance, vertical APIs, AI-infused. Can you can you elaborate on a few successful kind of use cases, but especially kind of from a how you answer to specific requirements, being compliance and sovereignty and privacy, because those can be really challenging also per customer, per country, per region. So yeah, can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, yeah, because that is a challenge it's something that has to inform our development, because we do license our platform to, like I said, over 235 service providers globally, different countries, different compliance requirements, issues. And the other thing, with a large base, we've got close to 7 million users globally on our platform, adding 120,000 or so a month. A big part of what we have to do is make sure you don't break anything that's already working for your partners and your clients and your people who have deployed the platform before, as you develop and change more in the future. But what I love about my job is when I get to go meet with our different partners and really look at, because most customers that use our technology have no idea that we're there. Right, we're like the NVIDIA inside of their experience. They don't know that it's NetSapiens, and our partners are the ones that really have the unique vision for the specific verticals or areas that they want to take the platform. And so some of them, everywhere from, in the U.S., the pest control industry, come out and take care of your bugs. One of our partners is actually very deep into that vertical, developed an application where a potential customer could use the camera on their phone to send a picture to the agent to show them the problem that they had, so they knew what they were going to deal with before they got to the site. I mean, and that's, we talk a lot about, finance and other areas that are high compliance, but just making a consumer experience much better for somebody like that. It's actually for that vertical. That solved the problem where our partner can tell us how much additional revenue he's helped that client add, and then in that vertical works all their trade shows, has a dominant market share actually for our business with the things that they've developed specifically for something to most of us is, seems like maybe it's not mundane or what we would think of as technologists as a exciting application, but to the customer that he's selling to, that makes the difference on, their season this year and some of the things that they're doing. So, and there's, if we had more time, we could go through many other specific use cases. But what again, it's seeing how partners that maybe serve government or serve education or these other sectors really leverage our APIs. Some of them do their own development. Others work with third-party developers that help add that. And then in our case, we have a large ecosystem of third parties that we work with that kind of have things that are more tailor-made as applications that can be added to their platform to really be able to take and hone an offer that allows them to address those verticals that they're targeting. And our job is really, it's to improve the product, but like I said, not to break anything, and not to break any of the compliance frameworks that we have to deal with when it comes to security, privacy, and those other aspects of having a secure application.
Thanks. So really that key, or that value of the partners to go into specific vertical direction. That's key. Nicola, finally to you. At 2600 hertz, overlap, I said, so, also that, business comms platform for bigger telcos, but also the smaller niche ones. We've had a little bit of a conversation about, you're saying, we do a lot of white labeling, right? And by default, it becomes really hard to talk about these use cases, right? So, but there are a few, and I think you have a really interesting one, like being Service Titan, right?
Service
Tell
Titan,
us more
yes,
about.
exactly. Service Titan, we have been talking about customer outcomes, and I'd like to talk about Service Titan because of the customer outcomes that they have achieved. So you can look up in the internet and search for Service Titan and Ooma 2600 Hz. These guys are really specialized in selling IT tools for the trades, so specific to electricians, plumbers, and AVC installers, and so on. Why are we talking about customer outcomes here? I'd like to talk about two customer outcomes. First of all, time to market and conversion rate of specific leads. By using our platform, ServiceTitan has been able to complement their IT. There are other companies out there that are perfect for AI services. So they were able to integrate with their preferred AI provider, and they were able to go to market in less than 2 quarters. So time to market. Second thing, since they integrate our platform with their AI solution, the preferred one, they were able to provide virtual agents, transcription services, sentiment analysis through that AI platform integrated with our solution, and they were able to convert basically those leads in. They increased the conversion of those leads by 11%, and it's not too bad in my opinion.
Yeah, that's really kind of showing the money, right? The ROI and the business case. So AI, where do we come? It is the topic, and we all see that everything is AI enabled in your platforms. But agentic AI is, I guess, one of the newest, perhaps hype, but I don't think so. I mean, there's lots of talk about agentic AI in the past, let's say, 10, 12 months, right? So, Michael, RingCentral came out recently with an agentic AI-infused vertical-specific solution. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, not technically vertical specific, but frankly, the power of the AI behind it makes it. We launched the AI receptionist, which is kind of our first agentic AI solution. We've had lots of Gen AI solutions come up before that. But, the one thing I guess, in talking about this, I heard it yesterday, is, AI can understand us now. So, and that's kind of the tipping point, and how it literally takes, for AI receptionists, takes 5 minutes to set up. You basically tell it your business, you give it your frequently asked questions, point it at your website, upload some just basically teach it a little bit about your business, and now it builds the call flows, it deflects questions, your store hours and things like that. But to your point about kind of, it's immediately verticalizable, I guess that a word. It's immediately verticalized. It knows your business, and and it starts developing the language of your vertical industry, and really, I almost take it further. It's hyper verticalizing or personalizing towards your business, and like I said, it understands that. We've been kind of early success with that has been actually across verticals. Healthcare has been kind of a big uptake on that. Retail, it does just carry over across. Like kind of as I said earlier, I don't know that there is a horizontal solution coming anymore. That everything does have to kind of fall and understand your business.
Bring that specific value add. Nicola, switching gears a little bit, although it actually the driver is AI, we wanted to talk about, the return of voice. You see that increase happening, and it has been also covered in sessions earlier this morning. I think unfortunately I couldn't attend, but what NLP, NLG, kind of those really interesting human-like conversations with AI agents that we are seeing now, right? That's really increasing the uptake of voice. So can you comment on that, how that's happening, and how do you see that going forward?
Yeah, very good question. So I'm glad that I read the report from Andrew this morning, and then there was a sentence I'd like to mention. So voice is an essential tool of the entire communication mix. So voice is not dead, guys. Voice is still alive, it's still king, in my humble opinion. And what we are using right now, we are using voice in order to communicate with each other. And because of AI, voice is getting another boost, another opportunity, has got another opportunity. So it will become another data channel for the AI platforms, right? And in my humble opinion, when we are dealing with AI platforms, you have to be careful because you can get into the weeds and you can get really distracted and you can lose the focus on the business. It's better to start with simple things. What we have seen happening with our successful service provider partners is that if they just create some specific, simple AI tasks, voice AI tasks, without trying to solve the impossible problems, just simple problems, that's already enough in order to justify the investment on AI. And again, there are many AI platforms out there. Just pick the one that you would like to use, that is more congenial for your specific business. That's basically my recommendation. And voice, again, because of AI, is getting another boost, and it's another tool in terms of data for the AI platform, next to the other tools that we already have.
Thanks. So Jörgen, as I just mentioned, what we've already been discussing a lot, it's not about technology, about business outcomes. This brings not only that technology transformation, but a bigger transformation, a cultural transformation, right? It includes the technology, but also the people, the processes, and there's a lot of legacy out there that needs modernization, but you're really seeing, not only the technical side, but the whole cultural transformation being quite challenging and kind of players missing out on opportunities because of that challenge. Can you elaborate a bit on kind of key considerations here, what to bear in mind?
Yes, and with the risk of missing the break now if you get me started on this topic. But the APIs and the technology, that's just one thing. It enables a lot of integration, it enables a lot of cool things. But if you really want to get the benefits, you also need to see how do you consume those in terms of an organization point of view. How do you build your services? How do you run them? And it's really hard because this is, fairly modern how you can transform an organization working in a modern DevOps setup, making sure that you don't have all these vertical departments with a lot of handoffs. To compare how these things were built 20 years ago, you had a software supplier that built a software. It was shipped to an operations team at the carrier. They installed it, deployed it. They handed it over to an operations team within the carrier, which then in turn had the customer support organization that actually took the customer feedback. And before you got the feedback as a supplier, it took 1 year to know that the things didn't work as expected. And then it took 1 more year to get actually the solution fixed. But if you run it and instead of organizing this in a single DevOps team, you have actually the same people building, running, and getting instant feedback. So before customers know that something is broken, you already fixed the problem. So this is the real thing to embrace when you're moving into this kind of modern way of building things in the cloud.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting. Thanks for that, Jörgen. I think we need to move a bit quickly here. I want to kind of close with that topic of AI, because yesterday there was a great presentation from Charles around telcos and AI and how to deploy, but also those risks around AI, right? Hallucinations, toxic, etc. Can really cause can have like really bad consequences for businesses, right? So how can you elaborate a little bit, Jon, on how you guardrail that, the guardrails, but also perhaps other measures you take to manage this kind of, to have this deployed, managed in a secure way for your platform?
Sure, and I'll start with kind of something that was discussed earlier, but it's we're talking a lot about technology trends. I believe it is a start with the problem. And start with the problem, and then using tools that you have, including AI as a pillar, to build solutions for your customers, means you want to have a customer, and you want to have either the population or the type of company that you're building it for, have their input into what you're doing and engage them through the process. For us, we also look for partners that are willing to, we call it early access in our program, to partners that are willing to help us test, validate, and prove out solutions as well before they're released to the larger audience in a GA type of release. So I think by going through those steps, you unveil if you have those types of problems in the solution you built and you're getting the customer feedback, you're going to know it. Your partner early access lets us push things across the larger base of partners that some of them deploy our platform a little bit differently than others. So, everybody knows software isn't perfect, obviously, in its release. While the developers may think it's perfect and the QA guys may have missed it, partners often give you the feedback of, hey, in this use case, this specific function isn't working exactly the way it should. So that's part of the kind of the natural safeguards that we build into a release process, similar to what Jörgen was talking about with his DevOps cycle of working through, to help make sure that if you've really started with the problem, you're focused on the customer and you're working through the channel that enables that the feedback from those three parties should help you make sure that you fulfill the need when you get done.
Thanks so much. I think we have run out of time already, so I want to thank you so much for your insights during this panel, and please join me in giving my panelists a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you. Release. Thank you, John. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Jon. Thanks, Melissa.
Thanks.